President, distinguished honorable colleague, I remain sincerely yours, Adeola Solomon, Senator representing the largest editorial district in Nigeria, county population. I am from Lagos West. Good afternoon. Mr. President, distinguished honorable colleague, let me start by congratulating the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for laying before the National Assembly a budget that is the budget of change, which, in addition to that, I will refer to as an all-inclusive budget. Mr. President, for the first time since the advent of democracy since 1999, we have a budget that, prior to now, year in, year out, the benchmark of oil ranges from 120 and as at 2015 was $48. And the match we have gotten as a country in terms of our overall budget size, using this particular figure, has been under $5 trillion. But for the first time, we have a budget that is predicated on $38 per barrel, which is far less than what previous governments have been able to put in place. And the overall budget size is $6 trillion. Mr. President, I want to strongly believe that for the federal government and the executive to be able to do this, to achieve this, it shows that they are looking inward and looking beyond into the future. Because time is not on our side anymore. The oil prices in the market are not encouraging. Today, the benchmark we have set for this year's budget is $38. But the current reality on ground shows that we have about the price of oil is about $27 per barrel. And what that means to say is that if we are looking at it from the face value and from what the benchmark of oil is saying today, we will say the $6 trillion budget is not achievable. But for all that has been said, especially from this side of the divide, I want to believe that not only that this budget is futuristic, but this budget has been able to spell out all economic indices that will support the realization of the $6 trillion budget. Mr. President, let me start with the revenue. You will quite agree with me, Mr. President, that for the first time, we are having a budget that where the benchmark of oil is not really a major factor as far as revenue generation for this year's budget is concerned. Mr. President, the $38 per barrel of oil is only taking care of only those 820 billion naira. And Nigerians must be ready to tighten their belts. And wastages must be reduced to the barest minimum. And Nigerians should be rest assured that this $6 trillion budget, in terms of implementation, they should be assured that this present administration, this present government will actually follow the implementation of this budget to the latter. It's not going to be business as usual, where the National Assembly will pass the budget, but what will be implemented will be something else. So, going forward, Mr. President, I want to believe that that all that has been put in place in form of the treasury single account, where there will be more transparency in terms of export expansion, import substitution, and many other indices, appointment of new chief executive into the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and also the Customs Service. All these are factors which the federal government has put in place to ensure that the source of funding this year's budget in terms of revenue will be achieved. Mr. President, having said that, about the funding gap, as we currently have, the funding gap as proposed by this year's budget is 2.2 trillion naira. But do we agree with me that we do not have the lack of this funding gap? The prices of oil is going down, and there will be need for us to borrow more. So, looking at it from that angle, during the MTF debate, I mentioned it, that these 2.2 trillion that we are proposing will need more, because looking at the estimate of $38 per barrel, which we are still not as sure of what's going to happen. Iran has just returned to the market with 500,000 barrels of oil per day. And there is no hope in sight that these oil prices will improve. So, I want to say this, that the Committee on Appropriation and the Committee on Loan and Foreign Debt should be on the lookout, so that by the time we will be having this appropriation bill back to the Senate, we will have a funding gap that we have been able to take care of all that is needed to see that this budget comes into implementation. President, for the first time in the history of this nation, the government of the day has made provision of 300 billion social intervention fund, out of which 60 billion naira has been proposed for small scale, for artisans and traders across this country. My prayer is this: I hope this will not be another shopping form. This will not end up as another shopping form, where the purpose or the reason why the fund is being set up is not for that purpose that will be achieved. I want to trust and believe in this present administration to ensure that the implementation of this social intervention fund will be to the latter. And those that will be representing or that will be coming on board in implementing this fund, this Senate or the National Assembly, to pay critical attention to this so that they can be sure that all relevant people of Nigeria that need to benefit from this actually do. Mr. President, I also want one or two questions to answer. Mr. President, this year's budget, 1.8 trillion of this budget has been set aside to fund our foreign and capital loans, which represents about 35% of the capital expenditure. This is huge. And I'm of the firm belief that the Committee on Appropriation and the Committee on Foreign and Local Debt will look into this and ensure that this fund that has been set aside is, implemented to the latter. And also for the first time, this administration has put in place a sinking fund account of 130 billion naira. What does this account tend to achieve? Is to give direction to borrowing. We want to know that this 113 billion set aside, is this the full and final figure, or more money will be added to this particular account? These are more questions which we want the Committee on Appropriation and other subcommittees to look into, and also to implore and ask for the understanding of my friend on the other side of the divide, that this budget is the budget for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the budget is in the interest of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And for the first time that we are having something like this, I think we should all come rally around and support the President so that his aim and objective, his plan, his wish for the Federal Republic of Nigeria can come to pass. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.